Welcome to Nightly Highlights, your audio and video companion to the nightly news. Each episode is a shortcut to exciting campus events and helpful resources. Perfect for a quick break or your daily commute. We'll keep you in the loop with all the essentials. Catch up with what's happening around the Marian University Indianapolis campus. I'm Karen Candlish, your Dean of Students, and this week I'm joined by Hailey Ready and Joy Mills. Welcome. Yay, we're here. So Hailey is a junior biology and English major from Greenwood, Indiana. She's the literary editor for the Hailey Ready and has been involved with Agape Theater Company, both as an actor and a dance captain, and you're in the play.
Yes, I am.
It's very exciting. And Joy is the venue manager and theater technical coordinator from McCordsville, Indiana. She's worked at Marian for 3 years coming this December and serves as the advisor for the Marian Knights Drama Club and a university show producer. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Joy.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thanks for having me.
I sent you the information.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it.
Are you ready for this?
Yes, I am.
Sort of. Yes. So before we get into the event highlights, what's your favorite thing about being involved in Marian University Theater?
Well, it's probably really cliche to say, but my favorite part about being involved in the theater program is the people that I've met while I've been in it. All three of my roommates I've met in some way through theater. I think theater is just it's such a vulnerable space. It's hard work, and the work that you're doing is taking your emotions, putting them out for everyone to see. And so, one, I think it takes a certain type of person to do that. And then two, doing that, I think, bonds anyone who's around. There's one student who recently became involved in the program, and he was talking about, the people that were there, and he said, I've always heard all these stereotypes about theater kids, and I didn't know what to believe, but man, this is a weird gene pool. And I was yeah. But he was also saying that the weirdness and the unique parts of everyone involved in theater is what made him so comfortable. And I think that is a great way to describe the theater program.
I think that's an amazing way to describe the theater program. Just a bunch of weirdness.
Yes.
And I think that as you go through college and also afterwards, you realize the importance of embracing your quirkiness, your weirdness, the things that you love, the things that you're passionate about, really harnessing those and finding ways to get involved with them outside of your day-to-day, being a Marian student or being an employee. I think that's amazing. I love that. Joy, do you have anything to add?
I love being a part of the theater program, similar to what Hailey was talking about, but for me it's a little bit different. I kind of uplifting, I guess, the weirdness and showing them directions and paths that they can take to use theater in the future. Regardless of the major they choose, there's skills that can be applied to a number of different jobs in future. So I just really like seeing the young talent come up and helping them figure out what to do with it.
For sure. I just had a student come and see me today, actually, asking me whether or not I thought it would be beneficial for her to have a theater major or theater minor and then try to go to law school. And I said, as someone who's been to law school and as an attorney, I said, I actually think that's a fantastic thing for you to do, especially if you're involved in the show, getting up and being comfortable talking in front of people, learning that skill. And so hopefully you get a new theater major, theater minor, someone who's interested
future
in
lawyer,
that.
future attorney.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think there's only beneficial things for you to learn in being in that vulnerable space. I love that. Yes. That's amazing. Okay, so before we dig into the real reason we're here, which is to talk about the fall theater production, I wanted to go over just a couple of other events that are happening. And the first one is the election. So we've been talking a lot about the election every week, but Election Day is coming up. So it'll be the Tuesday after this podcast episode releases. And I wanted to get your opinions too and hear your voice. Why do you think it's important to vote?
Well, everyone kind of says it, but I think it's an opportunity to use your voice. We'll talk about it later, but the show is very much about the power that you have and your own voice. And I think voting is a great way and opportunity to do that.
Definitely. Yeah, so it's our last opportunity to talk about it before it actually happens.
Yes.
So I think it's really important to get out there and vote. And then in the Unity Center, the day after the election, they're doing what I think is a really cool idea, which is take care programs. So the election is kind of this big culmination of a lot of work and also a lot of feelings. And so it's a good time to recognize that we may have emotions on the back end of an election. So they're offering some space for that. So if any student, faculty, or staff member wants to go and kind of just visit, have a space to decompress, they're doing that in the Unity Center the day after the election, which I think will be awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to highlight, 2 events actually. One is the Gold Mass for Scientists. So this will be November 7th, and it's associated with St. Albert the Great, who's the patron saint of scientists. It's at 5:30 p.m. in the Kaido Wagner Hall, St. Joseph Chapel. I just think this is a cool combination and thinking about faith and reason as partners. And I think that would be a really fun event to go to. And then the Scholarly Learning Communities are hosting a coffee house in partnership with Campus Activities Board on Friday, November 8th, before the theater production that night. And they're having faculty answer the question, what do we really teach? And I think that's a really good thing to go and learn about too. So those are some events I just wanted to highlight, in addition to the reason that we're here, which is to talk about the fall theater production. So when is it? What is it? Give us the elevator pitch. Like, why should students, faculty, and staff, and everyone go see the theater show?
Yeah, well, the show is A Doll's House, and it's November 7th to the 10th. And it's about this woman named Nora who comes off as very childish and naive, but actually has this deep secret that she's been keeping from everyone. And so the play is the unfolding of the secret and how that unfolding affects her relationships with those around her and also her relationship to herself. And I think that everyone should come see it because it's a really great reflection of reality, which I think all art is. But what makes A Doll's House so unique is the flaws of the characters. It's not your typical like protagonist that represents all that is good, antagonist represents all that is bad, and like the nuance is the backstory of the villain or whatever. It's every single character, especially Nora, is deeply flawed, and they're deeply flawed because they're human. And it's up to the audience to decide what actually is right and what is wrong, and if we even know. And I think it's a great opportunity to reflect on life.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yes.
And you're in the play as Nora.
I am.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
so that's awesome. But you're in the blue cast, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a blue cast and a gold cast. Tell me about that. What's that about?
Yeah, so I made the decision with the director to double cast the show. It was apparent, honestly, when Hailey walked in and did her audition, as soon as she walked out, we knew she was Nora. So there were some really strong auditions from the start, and we had a brief chat about it and wanted to give more opportunities because there was so much talent and so much determination. So really, we have 2 casts to showcase more Marian students, honestly. One cast is Hailey's, and then the other is led by Grace Swinefirth.
Yeah.
And when you see the shows, it's 2 completely different. It feels like you're going to 2 different shows, even though it's the same script. And both are equally, honestly, brilliant in what they portray. But I'm going to leave that to you guys to decide what each cast represents and what message they're trying to send.
So does that mean that I need to get tickets to 2 shows?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I know what I'm doing that weekend.
Yes.
I'm going to spend the whole weekend in the theater. Does that sound...
We will be as well.
You're like, just join us.
Yeah.
Just come and have fun with us.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds really cool. I love the idea, as someone who works with Marian students all the time, I love the idea of getting to see more of them on stage and giving more opportunity to more students. I think that's a really great idea. Mm-hmm. One of the things I really loved that you said about the play itself is the idea of kind of engaging with these characters that are deeply flawed, right? Mm-hmm. As human beings, we are deeply flawed. And one of the things that you may have done this on purpose, and maybe not, and that's okay too, but the Franciscan value of the year is dignity of the individual. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed sometimes that our plays and our musicals have a tie-in to the value or that we're lifting that up differently. And I think that's really beautiful to engage with that value and think about us as humans being worthy of dignity even in our flawed state, which I think is really great. So anyway, I just wanted to lift that up. I think that's really cool.
It's definitely a prevalent theme in the show, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Like our stories are worth telling, right? The stories are worth telling. The characters are worth engaging with, even in their nature as humans being flawed, right? So I think that's really beautiful. So I wanted to talk a little bit too about what do students learn as a part of a show, right? What leadership skills are being developed? What have you learned in your role as Nora in this time? You know, how are you developing as a student?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of ways. I think a lot of people don't realize how many people go into making a show. Even in a show like this where there's only like 6 characters, there's the actors and the directors, and then there's also the stage managers and the set designer and the costume designer and the prop manager and all these people. I talk to a lot of my friends who aren't involved in theater, and they're like, their minds are blown when I'm like, yeah, I was told to sit on that couch at that time. Like, I didn't just decide to do that. And there's, like, the director told me, when you say this line, you have to sit on this side of the couch. And then that has to be communicated. The set designer has to make sure there is a couch. The costume designer has to make sure I'm wearing the right clothes. And, like, the color is important. The lighting is important. And so there's all these people working to make one thing. And so communication is, like, is really important, or else everyone will be confused and it will be a disaster. But we all work together and we all make the show what it is. So communication is a big one. I also think there's a lot that goes in outside of rehearsal, even for me as an actor, which I think has less work than someone on the tech side of things. I still have to, like, memorize my lines and my blocking and talk to the other actors about, like, here's what I'm thinking about my character, how does that relate to yours, and what is our relationship? And so accountability and, like, independence are also really important. Playing Nora specifically, there's a lot of lines, for one. She talks a lot. So memorizing lines is a lot of work. And then her character development is also kind of crazy. She's like a completely different person by the end. And so trying to think about how I can make the small adjustments of her change, so that way, by the time you get to the end, you still believe that that's Nora, but you also see how different she is.
Sure. Nice. I was just envisioning what would happen if there wasn't a couch.
Yeah. Not good things.
The set designer has to make sure there is a couch. I loved that so much. It's like, yes, that would be important. Yeah. Joy, what are you hoping that students get out of the experience?
Every time we put on a show, it feels like a little miracle, and there's a lot of stress that goes into it. So I think it teaches, it pushes students to their limits in a way where they learn about how they deal with stress. It teaches them time management, that they have a commitment and they need to be somewhere, because each show is kind of like there's a contract they have to sign too. Like you need to be at these rehearsals. So I think, like Hailey was saying, teaches accountability. But I also really want to teach them to have fun with it as well. Yeah. Because what we do is serious and it's an art form, but I also want them to be able to carry it with them for life. Yeah. So if it's not fun, it's a little bit harder. Yeah. So we work really hard with that, but I think it can be applied to almost any career you can think of, a lot of the skills that they learn. So like I was saying, every student I have I know isn't going to become, a professional thespian or theater tech, but I can help them with skills that I know they're going to use in other careers.
For sure. It's definitely one of those things that it helps develop some transferable skills. Like there's a lot of, time management, coping with stress, like signing a contract and being accountable to that, all of those things. Communication, teamwork, thinking it all the way through, attention to detail, all of these things are things you talked about today, and I think can be really beneficial. So we're pitching that people should come to the show, but also that students should get involved.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
More students in the theater. I love that. more double casting.
I would love that. I would love that. Triple casting. Let's do it.
Casting. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to see a show 3 times.
Yeah. Yep. every single person is gonna have to come see.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's really exciting, and I can't wait to see it. Maybe 2 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or 4 times.
Or 4 times. Just come all the times.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you both for being here and talking about the theater production. And faculty and staff get 2 free tickets. Yeah. Students get 1.
Yep.
And so those can there's a code, and all of that information is in the Nightly News anywhere.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for talking about
I
it.
was so glad that you could be here and talk about this. So that's a wrap for this episode of Nightly Highlights. To get the full scoop on these stories and more, check out the Nightly News delivered to your inbox Sundays at 5 p.m. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.